Another summer approaches. I look into my wardrobe and the overwhelming feeling of worry and guilt is back. I want new things for summer, but I don't want to buy them. Modern clothing is badly made, doesn't fit me, is expensive, unethical, bad for the environment, and the fabrics don't even breathe. Vintage clothing fits me, but rayon is kind of meh. It's difficult to find exactly what I'm looking for, and it's all even more expensive. If only there was a solution, something in between. If only I could sew and make these things myself. Wait a minute. Do you ever wake up and go like, oh my god, I have nothing to wear, I have to make something new, I guess? No? Just me? So my first project was made using entirely items I found in my stash. I used polyester fabric that I bought last September to make myself a dress that I never did, and I used scraps of fabric that my sister used to make a pair of pants. Instead of using an actual pattern, I took a retro-inspired dress I own from House of Foxy that I know fits well and used it as a sort of base. I cut pieces of fabric that would approximately cover the area I was tracing, and then followed the seams and cut the piece to more or less the shape the dress piece was. I kept checking if I'm following the seam underneath. Normally I would pin the fabric to make the process more precise, but I only had 3 pins available and the whole thing was kind of spontaneous anyway. For the gathered pieces, I straightened the gathers to see how much wider the original piece was and estimated that it's about 2 centimeters per side, which meant I would have to make each front piece about 2 centimeters wider at the top to accommodate the gathers. I also checked the waist darts and estimated 4 centimeters hidden there. I then took another rectangle piece of fabric, folded in half so I have both sides, made sure the armhole seam matches, and then cut it diagonally so I had a 2 centimeter difference between the top and the bottom of the piece. I then made sure that gathering the piece makes it more or less the shape I want. When it comes to the sleeves, I wanted them a little bit more puffy than the original sleeves, so I used the original sleeve as a base and then kind of came up with my own pattern with a seam at the top because I don't know, it just happened.
Now she stands high from all the rest, you know her anywhere. Where she's mine, yeah she's mine. Well I love that little girl with the bright red hair. Well Miss Lindy, my Miss Lindy. Well, I love that little girl with bright red hair. Have you ever seen Miss Lindy? She likes to dance all day, and when she does rock and roll, it takes your breath away. Well, she's mine, yeah, she's mine.
I then turned the dress around and did the same thing with the back pieces.
Well, Miss Lindy, my Miss Lindy. Well, I love that little girl with bright red hair.
Again, I checked the waist darts and gatherings to make sure what the actual width of the piece would be.
Have you ever seen Miss Lindy? She likes to dance all day, and when she does rock and roll, take your breath away. Where she's mine.
I started sewing by getting the gather thingies done first and then joining them with the top pieces. I put it on my sewing dummy to try and see whether it actually works on something resembling a human body, and honestly it wasn't too bad, but I tried it on myself just to make sure.
Makes me do. Where she's mine, where she's mine. Well, I love that little girl, she's so fine.
And then more and more sewing followed. Even though my machine kind of looks nice, it's a pain in the ass and it's unable to do basic even stitches.
What it makes me do. Where she's mine, yeah she's mine.
I cut out the skirt using a skirt I've made a while ago as a base. Don't look because it's a rightful mess, but it was fast, okay?
Well, Miss Lindy, my Miss Lindy, she's my Lindy.
After sewing the skirt and stitching it together with the top, I tried the whole thing on and was actually impressed that it all fits quite well. Then I went on to deciding on the decoration. I wanted the dress to have this 1940s color block feel, so I wanted to add the bright pink elements, but I had to figure out the shapes and positions. I finally settled on the heart-shaped pockets design. I made the pockets by sewing 2 heart-shaped pieces together and leaving a small hole so I can turn the whole thing inside out and then iron it. I sewed a lot of buttons on because the slit had to be longer because I didn't have a zipper, and then tried it on to decide on the final placement of the pink decorative pieces. I then stitched them on top of the dress, and can I just say my machine did not do a good job at keeping things smooth and even as I hoped. Then I ironed the whole thing to make sure the decorations lay flat, and that was pretty much it. The end result is a little wobbly, but it's still a cute dress, and I think the color contrast really brings out the 40s vibes. If you watched my last video, you'll know that I've watched a 1939 movie, The Women, recently, and fashion-wise, it's such a treat. One of the pieces that really inspired me was Mary's house robe that had a really cool color block checkboard theme going on. I decided to make a 1930s, 1940s inspired long summer dress made of panels in bright contrasting colors. I didn't record the sewing process, but basically I draped the whole thing on my sewing form. The front is made of button tabs, which I think is my favorite detail. The only tricky part is that you have to cut 1 piece for each color. I had a 1940s style playsuit in mind for a long time, and this star pattern cotton caught my eye, though I think it was a little bit too stiff for this project. Again, I draped it on the form, creating a dart on the side and the front, and I used shorts I've sewn a while ago to trace a pattern for the shorts. I couldn't quite decide on the top, so I did some doodles to see what looks better.
It's okay that you didn't do the hem by hand. It is also okay that you just rolled the edges of the sleeves and the neckline instead of doing them by hand. It is also okay that you used a sewing machine preset to make the buttonholes.
I've modified the shorts pattern a bit and they don't fit great, to be honest, and luckily I have this fun overskirt to cover my butt so it doesn't look like I'm wearing a Pampers. For this project, I traced an H&M blouse, which was the last thing I ever bought at a normal shop, and stretched the elastic band to see how wide the pieces should be. Turns out it's pretty wide. I used elastic for the top, the sleeves, and the waist. For the skirt, I used a tier baby dress tutorial on YouTube to see what the pieces should approximately look like. Basically, it's just rectangular strips of fabric, and the lower you go, the wider it should be. You gather the strips and then you join them together, and it's easy peasy. Since the elastic at the waist made the dress look a little sloppy, I also made a belt to make it more fitted. I got some really cute fabric with a monkey pattern, and I was inspired by this 1940s dress when making it. I used an original 1940s dress I own as a pattern. I decorated it with soutache details at the neck slit. This time, unlike with the heart dress, I actually paid attention to the grain of the fabric when cutting the skirt, which I think made it lay a lot smoother. For this project, I traced an H&M blouse, which was the last thing I ever bought at a normal shop, and I used a sewing machine preset to make the buttonholes. I couldn't quite decide on the top, so I did some doodles to see what looks better. It is okay that you didn't do the hem by hand. It is also okay that you just rolled the edges of the sleeves and the neckline instead of doing them by hand. It is also okay that you used a sewing machine preset to make the buttonholes. The last dress is the one I made for Easter, but I think it still counts as my summer wardrobe, I hope. I used the very same dress as I did with the monkey dress for the top pattern and a skirt I own for the bottom. So again, I just basically traced what I already have.
Well, Miss Lindy, my Miss Lindy, well, I love that little girl.
So these are all the pieces I designed and made recently. Making them was definitely cheaper and faster than searching for original vintage pieces like that. Hopefully they will serve me well throughout the years.
Mine.